actor in the format of the show, how's it like coming back to play a different role every single season?
It's fantastic. I mean, you get the opportunity to work again in a different way, to interpret a character, a new character. And John's done a great job of bringing up characters that, have not been seen before. They're original characters. You're not going to find them on any other show. So that's always the challenge. You don't know where it's going to go. It's going to be a hard slog, and it's going to take all your acting chops. But it's a great ride. So, yeah, it's an exciting way to get it, keep working.
Yeah. Would you say you at all miss a character at the end of a season? Do you ever want to go back and be like, oh, how does his story end?
Yeah, absolutely. Every time, in any show I do or any job I do. But I'm a theater guy, and that's kind of the condition.
Yeah.
You rehearse for 2 weeks, 2 months. You perform for 2 months, 4 months, and then you close the door. And whatever happens to Hamlet, it's over. Whatever happens to Petruchio, it's over. So whatever happens to these characters, it's done. And hopefully that the journey's complete.
So this season you'll have a lot of new people coming in as the main cast. Is it intimidating at all for them, since you all have such chemistry already, having worked together?
You'd have to ask them, but as far as what it feels like for me, it doesn't feel like jarring at all. It feels like, just more people added to the family. It's like having a big family reunion and go, hey, and this is your new cousin. You go, oh, great, come on in. It's very comforting.
Awesome. And with the show, you tackle very heavy subjects, first season covering race and then followed with sexuality. And this new season deals with immigration and stuff like that. Given the new political climate, how do you feel your show can impact the audience and shed light on this very taboo subject?
It's a deep question. You got an hour? The show wasn't originally intended to respond to anything that's happening currently. So the character that I play and the voyage we started on was about humanizing a blanket subject, immigration, by making it specific to my character, who had a specific mission about his son. It's a story about a father looking for his son, who happens to be in that world. And then because of that, the backdrop, we get to see the perils of what these people, immigrants, in this particular case, these Mexican immigrants who come and are pickers, to see what they're up against. And through that, I think the intention is always to just shine a light where the light isn't normally shown, and to humanize it, and then let the chips fall where they may. Some people may agree with that, and some people may disagree with that, and that's fine. But this is a story about the father, and this is a story about what it takes to pick tomatoes and grow tomatoes and the cost of tomatoes and both sides of the argument, both sides of the aisle. So yes, it's a hot button topic at the moment, but it always is. We just are not always shining the light on it. Every single day our food is delivered somewhere. So that means every single day our food was picked by somebody. And every single day these people have to get up and get dressed and go to work and come home and deal with those issues. Our intention is to just think about them for this brief moment and tell the story about one of them.
That's great. One last question, kind of in the same vein. Do you have anything you personally believe that you would like more people to know about, any sort of topic that you would personally want to shed a light on?
Wow. In this way, I think I'll answer the question. One of the things about being Latino in the United States is the assumption is always that we've come from someplace else. When is it that we're just Americans and not Mexican American or Latino American or Spanish American? We're American. And in my particular case, being New Mexican, we're one of the oldest families in the country. We were here before the borders, before the Spaniards, before the Mexican borders and all the rest of it. And I've always had to grow up explaining, well, I'm not Mexican, I'm not Spanish, I'm American with a Spanish surname. It wasn't always just Irish or Anglo-Saxon or other people. So that's one of the things I always want to get across, that no, we're part of this American fabric as much as everyone else.
Great. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.
First off, I'd just like to ask you about the format of the show, being an anthology show, allows you to tell a lot of different stories with the same themes.
Right.
But how do you maintain that? How do you make sure that with the evolving show, you don't lose the heart of the series?
Well, one of the things that we do is we write every episode before we even start shooting it. So it's all set out. It's a plan, and there's no. We don't lose sight of it because it's from the beginning to the end. It's set up like I liken it to writing a novel. Like, we know what it is. We know what the beginning and the middle and the end is, and we just lay it out like a novel, and we break it up into 8 parts. So it's already, or 10, depending on what season. We've had different lengths of seasons. So it's laying it out, planning ahead, and never losing sight of what you want to say.
Would you say there's any potential disadvantages to the format?
The only disadvantage is an emotional disadvantage, and that when you come back I fall in love with these, not only the actors, obviously they're friends, and I fall in love with those people and we bring them back, but these characters, like, I truly would love to see what happens to some of them, and I would love to come back to them. But, again, going back to the novel, metaphor, when you put down a book and it's over, there's still lives to be lived in those characters oftentimes, and you have to just kind of make them up in your head. But I think that's the biggest thing, is I would love to follow some of these people farther. I'd love to be able to stay with them like a show does. These wonderful shows that you get to follow someone's life for many years. It's kind of, Friday Night Lights is one of my favorite shows, and I sometimes look at, like, last season, like, I would love to see what happens to these families, to Lily's character, Connor's character, Felicity going back to New York, or what happens when Regina and her family move away. Like, those things I would love to have seen. But I got to make love in my own head now.
So the show tackles a lot of heavy subjects, following race in the first season, and now in your newest season, immigration. What is it like telling these stories, especially given the more recent political climate? Do you feel like there's some sort of responsibility to tell these stories?
It's not there is a responsibility to tell the truth and really honor the lives of the people that you're basing this on. And I think there's a responsibility to, if you're going to tell these stories, to push every boundary that you can. And people talk about being a heavy show. It's a reflection of life. All our lives are heavy. All our lives are filled with heartbreak and difficulties, and it's about the overcoming those things. And I think the show is actually, at the end, is oftentimes about hope. At the end, there's hope of where they'll go, that they've overcome these things, And I think the responsibility is for us to examine these people as individuals and not take a, professorial role in saying, this is what you need to learn. I think it's just like we find a space that we want to tell stories, and we tell human stories within those spaces.
And speaking for yourself personally, is there any topic that you would like to shed a light on that you feel nowadays is not necessarily looked at or understood by the majority of the people?
Well, luckily, as executive producer, I've gotten to tell some of those stories. I think last year was an important story for me personally as a gay man, to be able to examine what it was like as a teenager to be gay and examine that story. This year's important to me. There's a lot of stories about immigration and the Mexican-American experience. My husband's Mexican-American. My family is, my in-laws, and they've lived that experience. And I think that, I do think there's still some things to be told about women in America. And I think that we're touching upon some of those things, but I think we haven't really tackled what it's like to be a woman in America and dealing with that. And I think that's something that, now that I have a daughter, and I have a 2-year-old daughter, it's become really important to me. And there's bits of it in each season, but to tackle what that experience is like, and how do women, they're 53% of this country, but yet they're treated as an underclass. And I think that would be something I would love to tackle. So maybe 4th season.
Thank you so much
right,
for
thank
this.
you.
Congratulations on the show.